black waitress fights and defends an innocent girl cornered by four gangsters. She didn't know the girl she defended was the sister of the most feared Korean Mafia boss. The afternoon sun beat down on Crenshaw Boulevard with the kind of relentless heat that made asphalt shimmer like water. Martha Williams wiped sweat from her forehead as she stepped out of Roy's diner, her double shift finally over at 4:47 p.m. 13 hours on her feet, her lower back screaming, her white sneakers stained with grease and ketchup. But her apron was heavy with tips. $147, enough to cover this week's payment on her mother's physical therapy bills. She'd been saving for nursing school before her mother's stroke 2 years ago, before medical debt became a monster that devoured dreams. Now at 26, Martha measured her life in shifts and tips, and the slowly shrinking balance on bills that never seemed to end. Beautiful, her grandmother always said. Smart as a whip, wasting herself on other people's pancakes. But what choice did she have? Martha pulled her natural hair out of its work bun, letting her braids fall past her shoulders. The small freedom felt good. She was heading toward the bus stop, mentally calculating whether she had time to stop at the grocery store before visiting her mother at the rehabilitation center when she heard it. A girl's voice, sharp with fear, speaking rapid Korean. Martha's head turned automatically. Across the street, outside the closed-down laundromat, 4 men had cornered a teenage Asian girl against the graffitied wall. The girl was young, 16, maybe 17, wearing an expensive-looking school uniform that seemed wildly out of place in this neighborhood. Designer backpack clutched to her chest like a shield. One of the men grabbed for the backpack. The girl jerked away and he grabbed her wrist instead. Martha saw the moment fear became panic in the girl's eyes. Walk away, the practical part of Martha's brain said. Not your problem. You're exhausted. You need to catch the bus. This isn't your fight. But Martha's feet were already moving, crossing the street against the light, dodging a honking taxi. Because she'd been that girl once. 15 years old, cornered by boys who thought her body was public property. Saved only because her brother David had appeared at exactly the right moment. She remembered the terror, the helplessness, the knowledge that no one else was going to help. Hey, Martha's voice cut through the afternoon heat. Leave her alone. 4 faces turned toward her. White guys, mid-20s to early 30s, dressed in the kind of clothes that screamed street gang trying to look legitimate. The one holding the girl's wrist, blonde hair, neck tattoos, cold blue eyes, sized Martha up with open contempt. Walk away, sister. This doesn't concern you. I'm not your sister, and everything on this block concerns me. Martha moved closer, heart pounding, but voice steady. Let her go. Now. The man laughed, showing teeth that needed dental work. Or what? You gonna call the cops? In this neighborhood? They don't come for people like us. He wasn't wrong. Martha had lived in South LA her whole life. She knew exactly how long police response times were in black neighborhoods. Long enough for terrible things to happen. I don't need cops, Martha said, stopping 3 feet away. Close enough to be a threat. I'm asking nicely. Let the girl go. Whatever you want from her, it's not worth it. A second man, Latino with a teardrop tattoo, stepped forward. You know who we are? We run with the West Side Crew. This little bitch owes our boss money. Or her brother does. Either way, she's coming with us. The girl, Han, Martha would learn later, spoke for the first time since Martha arrived. I don't owe you anything. My brother doesn't know you. You're lying. Your brother, the blonde man said, yanking Han closer, killed 2 of our boys last month. Took out a whole operation on Olympic. So yeah, there's a debt, and Henry's decided you're going to pay it. Martha's stomach dropped. This wasn't a simple robbery. This was gang retaliation, which meant these men were dangerous, organized, and probably armed. She should back away, should apologize and leave, should survive to fight another day. Instead, she pulled out her phone. I'm calling someone. You have 10 seconds to let her go before this gets complicated. Who are you going to call? The blonde man's grip tightened on Han's wrist. The girl whimpered. Like I said, cops don't care. Not calling cops. Martha's thumb hovered over a contact. I'm calling my brother, David Williams. Maybe you've heard of him. He runs security for the Southern Cross crew, and he really doesn't like people who hurt little girls in his neighborhood. It was a bluff. David did run security for a local crew, but he was working a job in Long Beach today, at least 40 minutes away. But the name recognition worked. Martha saw uncertainty flicker across the men's faces. The Southern Cross crew and West Side crew had an uneasy truce. Breaking it over one girl might not be worth it. "Fuck this," said the third man, who'd been quiet until now. Henry didn't say anything about dealing with Southern Cross. He said, "Grab the girl, hold her for ransom." Nobody mentioned complications. But the blond man's pride was wounded. Martha saw it in the set of his jaw, the way his free hand moved toward his waistband. "I'm not scared of David Williams, and I'm not letting some waitress tell me what to do." He pulled a knife, switchblade, cheap but sharp. The afternoon sun caught the blade, and Martha's breath caught with it. This had just escalated beyond her ability to bluff. "Last chance," and the man said. "Walk away, or I'll carve you up and take the girl anyway." Martha looked at Han, 16 years old, terrified, tears streaming down her face, and made a decision that would change everything. "No." The word hung in the air between them. The man's eyebrows rose. "What?" "I said no." Martha's hands were shaking, but she balled them into fists to hide it. "You want her? You go through me first." "Martha, no!" Han's English was accented but clear. "Please, just go. They'll hurt you." "Probably," Martha agreed, eyes never leaving the knife. "But I'm not leaving you alone with them." The blond man's face twisted. "Stupid bitch. Have it your way." He lunged. Martha's 13 hours of exhaustion vanished in a spike of adrenaline. Her brothers had taught her to fight dirty. No rules, no honor, just survival. She sidestepped, grabbed the wrist holding the knife, and brought her knee up hard into his groin. He went down howling. Martha grabbed the knife as it fell, but the other three were already moving. A fist caught her temple, sending stars exploding across her vision. She stumbled, barely keeping her feet. "Run!" Martha screamed at Han. "Get out of here!" But Han didn't run. Instead, the girl grabbed a bottle from the ground, broken beer bottle, all jagged edges, and swung it at the nearest attacker. It caught him across the forearm, opening a line of red. He screamed, clutching the wound. Martha and Han stood back to back now, surrounded. Martha's head was ringing from the punch, blood trickling from her split lip. Han was shaking but defiant, still holding her makeshift weapon. "You're both dead," the teardrop tattoo man snarled. He pulled a gun, small revolver, probably 38. "I'm done playing. Henry wants the girl alive, but he didn't say anything about you." The gun leveled at Martha's chest. Time seemed to slow. She thought about her mother, who'd never understand why her daughter died defending a stranger. About nursing school, the dream that would die with her. About all the things she'd never do, never see, never become. And then the world exploded. Not literally, though it felt that way. 3 black SUVs materialized on the street with the suddenness of apparitions, screeching to synchronized stops that boxed in the entire scene. Doors flew open. Men poured out, Asian, dressed in dark suits, moving with military precision. But it was the man who stepped from the center vehicle who made everything else fade to background noise. He was Korean, 28 or 29, tall and built like violence wrapped in expensive tailoring. His suit was black, perfectly cut to emphasize broad shoulders and a lean, powerful frame. His hair was styled back, revealing a face that belonged on magazine covers. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, lips that would have been sensual if not for the absolute fury in his expression. But it was his eyes that made Martha's breath stop. Dark, cold, and filled with the kind of rage that came from perfect control. The rage of someone who knew exactly how much damage they could do and was carefully calculating the level of destruction warranted. "Han?" His voice was quiet, but it cut through everything like a blade. Pure command. The girl's head whipped around. "Appa!" The word was a sob of relief. Han started to move toward him, but Martha's hand shot out, stopping her. "Stay behind me," Martha said, not understanding the dynamics but unwilling to let the girl move until she knew everyone was safe. The man's eyes landed on Martha for the first time, and she felt the impact physically. He took her in with one sweeping glance, her defensive stance, split lip, the way she was still shielding Han despite being outgunned and exhausted. Something flickered in those dark eyes. Respect, maybe, or curiosity. Then his attention shifted to the four men, and his expression went arctic. You pulled a gun, he said conversationally, on my sister. The man with the revolver tried to rally. Jin Ji-hoon, we didn't know. The West Side crew didn't authorize. Henry sent you. Not a question. Ji-hoon took a step forward, and every one of his men shifted in response. A choreographed threat. Henry Park sent 4 men to kidnap a 16-year-old girl in broad daylight, on neutral ground, during school hours. It's not. We were just supposed to scare her. You pointed a gun at her. Ji-hoon's voice dropped lower, more dangerous. And at the woman who defended her, the woman who stood between my sister and 4 armed men when she had absolutely no obligation to do so. His eyes flicked to Martha again, and this time the look held longer. Martha felt heat crawl up her neck despite the fear still coursing through her veins. Do you know, Ji-hoon continued, circling the 4 men like a shark, what happens to people who threaten my family? Look, man, we'll leave. We'll tell Henry it was a mistake. You'll tell Henry nothing. Ji-hoon stopped moving, positioned himself between the gunman and the girls. Because you're not going back to Henry. You're coming with me. And by the time I'm done, Henry will understand exactly what it costs to touch what's mine. He made a small gesture, just a flick of 2 fingers, and his men moved like a well-oiled machine. The 4 West Side crew members were disarmed and restrained in under 10 seconds. Professional, efficient, terrifying. Then Ji-hoon turned to face Martha and Han fully. His expression shifted as he looked at his sister, the cold rage melting into something softer, warmer. Relief mixed with residual fear. Han he said gently, switching to Korean. Martha didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone, the love, the terror of almost losing someone precious. Han burst into tears and ran to him. He caught her, holding her tight, one hand cradling the back of her head. Over his sister's shoulder, his eyes found Martha's again. Thank you, he said in English. The words weighted with something deeper than gratitude. For protecting her when I couldn't. Martha's legs chose that moment to remind her they'd been standing for 13 hours plus a fight. She swayed, catching herself against the laundromat wall. The adrenaline was draining away, leaving her shaky and aware of every bruise forming. Ji-hoon gently detached from Han, murmured something to her in Korean, then crossed to Martha in 3 long strides. You're hurt. He reached out slowly, telegraphing the movement, giving her time to refuse. When she didn't, his fingers tilted her chin up, examining her split lip and the bruise already blooming on her temple. His touch was impossibly gentle for hands that had just orchestrated violence. You need medical attention. I'm fine. Martha's voice came out rougher than intended. Had worse. That doesn't make this acceptable. His thumb brushed the edge of her bruise featherlight. You could have walked away, should have walked away. Why didn't you? Martha met his eyes, seeing her reflection in those dark depths. Because she's a kid, and nobody else was going to help her. Something in Ji-hoon's expression shifted, deepened. He looked at her like he was seeing something he'd been searching for without knowing it. What's your name? Martha. Martha Williams. Martha. The way he said it, with his slight accent, made it sound like something precious. I'm Jin Ji-hoon, and I owe you a debt I can never repay. You don't owe me anything. I did what anyone should have done. But most people wouldn't have. Han appeared at her brother's side, eyes still red from crying. She grabbed Martha's hand with both of hers. You saved my life. They were going to take me and you stopped them. You fought for me. Martha looked down at the girl, this kid she didn't know, who wore a school uniform that probably cost more than Martha's monthly rent, who spoke with the careful English of expensive international education. Are you okay? Did they hurt you before I got there? No, you got there just in time. Han's grip tightened. But you got hurt because of me. Your face, it's nothing. I've got brothers. I know how to take a hit. That's not the point. Ji-hoon's voice cut in, authority returning. You shouldn't have had to take any hits. This is my fault. I should have had better security on Han during school hours. I got complacent. The self-recrimination in his tone was sharp. Martha found herself wanting to comfort him, which was insane. She'd known this man for all of 5 minutes. Your sister is safe. That's what matters. Because of you. Ji-hoon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, jaw tightening. I need to handle the situation with Henry. But first, he turned to one of his men. Take our guests somewhere quiet. I'll deal with them personally later. Make sure they're comfortable. The way he said comfortable made Martha's skin prickle. These men weren't going to a police station. They were going somewhere much worse. The 4 West Side crew members were loaded into one of the SUVs. Martha watched, processing. This wasn't normal. This was organized crime, the kind of thing she'd only seen in movies. And Ji-hoon was clearly at the center of it. You're scared. Ji-hoon's observation pulled her attention back. Of me, of what you just saw. Martha considered lying, then decided against it. Little bit, yeah. You just had 4 armed men taken away to God knows where for God knows what. That's not exactly normal citizen behavior. No, it's not. He didn't apologize, didn't explain, just held her gaze with unwavering honesty. I'm not a normal citizen, Martha Williams. I'm the head of the Jin family, what Americans call the Korean Mafia. Everything you've heard about organizations like mine, the violence, the crime, the danger, it's mostly true. Han made a small sound of protest. Opa! She deserves truth, Han. She bled for you. The least we owe her is honesty. Ji-hoon's attention never wavered from Martha. If you want to walk away right now, I'll understand. I'll still cover your medical expenses and ensure no retaliation from the West Side crew, but you'll never see us again. Martha should have taken the out, should have nodded, gotten her medical bills paid, and returned to her normal life of double shifts and medical debt. But something in his eyes, that absolute honesty, the respect in offering her the choice, made her hesitate. What's the alternative? You let me properly, thank you. Let me take you to a doctor I trust who won't ask questions. Let me ensure you're safe from any potential fallout. He paused. Let me get to know the woman who stood between armed men and my sister without hesitation. The last part was said quietly, almost hesitantly, and Martha realized with a start that Jin Ji-hoon, Korean Mafia boss, commander of armed men, terror of the West Side crew, was nervous about her answer. I need to visit my mother, Martha heard herself say, at the Pacific Rehabilitation Center. I'm already late. I'll drive you. The response was immediate. And afterward, we'll get you looked at by a doctor. You don't have to. I know. I want to. His expression softened. Please, Martha, let me do this one small thing to begin repaying what you did. Martha looked between Ji-hoon and Han. The teenage girl was watching her brother with open adoration and curiosity. The man was watching Martha like she was a puzzle he desperately wanted to solve. And Martha, despite every logical reason to refuse, found herself nodding. Okay, but I have to warn you, my mother asks a lot of questions. Ji-hoon's smile was unexpected, transforming his severe features into something almost boyish. I look forward to meeting her. The SUV was absurdly luxurious. Leather seats that probably cost more than Martha's entire apartment. Climate control that actually worked, and enough space that Martha didn't feel crowded despite Ji-hoon's imposing presence. Han sat in the front with the driver, a quiet man Ji-hoon had introduced as Yoon, leaving Martha and Ji-hoon in the back. Tell me about your mother, Ji-hoon said as they merged into traffic. Not a demand, despite his commanding presence. A genuine question. Martha found herself talking about her mother's stroke 2 years ago, the sudden loss of movement on her right side, the months of hospitalization, about the bills that kept coming, the insurance that covered barely half, the physical therapy that was helping but cost more than Martha made in a month. That's why you work double shifts, Ji-hoon said quietly. At Roy's Diner. Martha's head whipped around. How did you know where I work? He had the grace to look slightly sheepish. Your uniform. The name tag says Roy's, and there's only one Roy's on Crenshaw. I pay attention to my territory. Your territory. The Jin family has interests in South LA. Businesses we protect, communities we invest in. He caught her expression. I know how that sounds. Criminal organization claiming to help communities. But it's true. My father built this family on the principle that we take care of our own. Everyone in our territory, Korean, Black, Latino, everyone, they're under our protection. Protection from what? Other gangs. Among other things, police brutality, predatory landlords, businesses that exploit workers. His jaw tightened. The system fails people like you, Martha, like your mother. So we step in where the system won't. By breaking the law, by doing what's necessary. He turned to face her fully. I won't lie to you and claim moral high ground. What I do is illegal, sometimes violent, but it also puts food on tables, keeps families housed, and ensures that people who can't fight for themselves have someone in their corner. Martha wanted to argue, wanted to point out the flaws in his logic, the danger of vigilante justice. But she'd lived in South LA her whole life. She knew exactly how long it took police to respond to calls in black neighborhoods. Knew how many landlords got away with code violations. Knew that sometimes the system didn't just fail, it actively worked against people who looked like her. My brother David, she said slowly, he works for the Southern Cross crew, security. I know, David Williams. Good man. We've worked together on several occasions. Ji-hoon's expression warmed slightly. The Southern Cross and Jin family have an understanding. We protect our territories, work together when interests align. So you already knew who I was before I said my name? No, I knew the Williams family by reputation. Didn't know David had a sister named Martha who worked at Roy's and apparently has a hero complex. That almost smile returned. Though I should have. Your file will be on my desk by tonight. My file? Standard procedure. Anyone who has direct contact with Han gets vetted. He must have seen her expression because he added quickly, for safety, hers and yours. If Henry knows you helped her, he might retaliate. Fear spiked through Martha. I just wanted to help. And you did. You saved her. You saved my sister. Ji-hoon's hand moved, hesitated, then settled on her shoulder. The touch was warm through her thin work shirt. But that also means you're in danger now, which is why I'm assigning you protection. Protection? Like bodyguards? Yes. 2 rotating shifts. They'll be discreet, but they'll be there. Non-negotiable. I can't afford. You're not paying. His tone brooked no argument. This is my responsibility. You got involved because of my failure to protect Han adequately. I won't compound that failure by leaving you vulnerable. Martha wanted to protest, but the practical part of her brain was already calculating. If the West Side crew really did want revenge, she was a sitting duck. No security system in her apartment building, bus rides alone at night, walking to and from work in the dark. She'd be easy prey. How long? Until the situation with Henry is resolved. The delicate phrasing didn't fool Martha. You mean until you kill him? Ji-hoon didn't flinch. I mean until he's no longer a threat to my family or anyone who helped my family. How that resolution occurs depends on Henry's choices. They arrived at the rehabilitation center, a tired building that did its best with insufficient funding. Ji-hoon studied it with an expression Martha couldn't quite read, then turned to Han. Wait here with Yoon. I'm going with Martha. Appa, you don't have to. I want to meet the woman who raised someone like Martha. His eyes found Martha's. If that's acceptable to you. Martha should have said no, should have kept her world separate. But something about the sincerity in his request, the way he looked at her like her permission actually mattered, made her nod. Okay, but I meant what I said. My mother asked questions. Ji-hoon's smile was small but genuine. I'm counting on it. Martha's mother, Patricia Williams, was in the common room, working on her physical therapy exercises with the kind of fierce determination that had defined her whole life. At 61, she looked older. The stroke had aged her, left her right side weak and her speech slightly slurred. But her eyes were sharp as ever. Those eyes landed on Ji-hoon with laser focus the moment Martha walked in with him. Mama, Martha said, bending to kiss her mother's cheek. How are you feeling? Better now that my daughter finally showed up. Patricia's words were careful, each syllable shaped with effort. And with a very handsome man. You going to introduce us, or you just going to stand there looking guilty? Heat flooded Martha's cheeks. Mama, this is Jin Ji-hoon. I helped his sister today, and he wanted to meet you. Ji-hoon stepped forward, bowing respectfully. Mrs. Williams, it's an honor. Your daughter showed remarkable courage today. You should be very proud. Patricia's eyes narrowed. What kind of courage requires meeting Mama? Martha, what happened? Why is your lip split? It's nothing. Don't you dare nothing me, child. I raised you better than lying to your mama. Patricia turned her sharp gaze on Ji-hoon. Mr. Jin, you want to tell me why my baby girl is bruised and bringing strange men to meet me? Ji-hoon didn't hesitate. 4 men were attempting to kidnap my 16-year-old sister this afternoon. Martha intervened, fought them despite being outnumbered and outarmed, and kept Hans safe until I arrived. She was injured protecting my family. The color drained from Patricia's face. Martha, you fought 4 men? Have you lost your mind? They were going to take her, Mama. She was terrified and nobody else was helping. What was I supposed to do? Call the police. Run. Literally anything except fight armed men. Patricia tried to stand, her right side immediately betraying her. Martha caught her, easing her back into the chair. Baby, you could have died. Over some stranger. She's 16, Mama. Same age as I was when those boys cornered me outside school. Remember? When David saved me? Martha's voice cracked. I remember how scared I was, how helpless. I couldn't walk away from that. Patricia's expression softened, but worry remained. That doesn't make it safe. That doesn't make it smart. No, Ji-hoon said quietly. It makes it heroic. Mrs. Williams, I understand your fear. If Han had done something this dangerous, I'd be furious too. But please understand, Martha saved my sister's life. 4 armed men in broad daylight with a gun pointed at her chest, and she didn't back down. He pulled something from his pocket. Martha saw it was a business card. I've assigned her protection until the threat is neutralized, and I want to cover her medical expenses. All of them, including yours. Patricia's eyes went wide. Excuse me. Your physical therapy, medication, any ongoing care you need, I'll handle it. Consider it a small fraction of the debt I owe your daughter. We don't accept charity, Patricia said stiffly. It's not charity. It's payment for services rendered. Martha protected my family. This is my family protecting hers. Ji-hoon's expression was sincere. Please, let me do this. Patricia looked between Ji-hoon and Martha, reading something in the air between them. Mr. Jin, what exactly do you do for a living? Mama, Martha started. I run a family organization, Ji-hoon said, not lying but not offering details. Import-export, property management, community investment. Uh-huh. Patricia wasn't fooled. And this family organization has armed security and enemies who kidnap teenage girls? Yes, ma'am. The honesty seemed to surprise Patricia. At least you're not trying to bullshit me. Martha, baby, step outside for a minute. I want to talk to Mr. Jin alone. Mama, that's not... Now, Martha. Ji-hoon nodded. It's fine. Your mother deserves answers. Martha reluctantly stepped into the hallway, anxiety churning in her stomach. Through the window, she could see her mother talking, Ji-hoon listening with complete attention. Whatever Patricia was saying, he took it seriously. 10 minutes felt like hours. Finally, the door opened. Ji-hoon emerged, expression unreadable. Behind him, Patricia was watching with an expression Martha knew well, the look that said she'd made a decision and God help anyone who disagreed. Your mother, Ji-hoon said quietly, is terrifying. Despite everything, Martha laughed. What did she say? That if I let anything happen to you, she'll find a way to rise from her chair and kill me herself. Stroke or no stroke? His lips twitched. I believe her. You should. Martha glanced back at her mother, who was smiling slightly. So, she's okay with the protection thing? After I explained the reality of the threat, yes, reluctantly. Ji-hoon's expression turned serious. Martha, I meant what I said about covering her medical expenses and yours. You need to see a doctor about that head injury. I'm fine. You took a hard hit to the temple. You could have a concussion. His hand came up, fingers ghosting over the bruise with heartbreaking gentleness. Please, let me take care of this. Martha found herself nodding, caught in his gaze. This close, she could see gold flecks in his dark eyes, smell his cologne, feel the warmth radiating from him. Dangerous, her brain warned. This man is dangerous in every possible way. But her heart wasn't listening. Dr. Lee's private clinic was in Koreatown, tucked above a restaurant in a building that looked modest from outside but luxurious within. The doctor was a quiet woman in her 50s who examined Martha with professional efficiency and asked no questions about how she'd been injured. Mild concussion, Dr. Lee said, shining a light in Martha's eyes. Rest for 48 hours. No screens, no physical exertion. Someone should wake you every 3 hours tonight to check responsiveness. I live alone, Martha said. I can set an alarm. I'll stay with her, Ji-hoon said from the doorway. Both Martha and Dr. Lee turned to stare at him. He met their gazes calmly. It's my responsibility, and I have a guest room if she's uncomfortable with other arrangements. Mr. Jin, that's really not necessary. You have no family who can stay with you tonight. Your mother is in rehabilitation. Your brothers, he paused. According to the file that just came through, David is in Long Beach on a 3-day job, Marcus is deployed overseas, and Samuel is in San Diego for a wedding. You have no one. The fact that he already knew that much about her family should have been creepy. Instead, Martha found it oddly comforting. He'd done his homework, which meant he took her safety seriously. I don't want to impose. You're not. You saved my sister. The least I can do is ensure you don't die from a brain bleed because you're too stubborn to accept help. Dr. Lee was watching them with thinly veiled amusement. I recommend you accept, Miss Williams. Mr. Jin is right about the monitoring, and from what I hear, his guest accommodations are quite nice. Martha looked between them, trapped. Finally, she sighed. Fine, but just for tonight. Just for tonight, Ji-hoon agreed, though something in his expression suggested he was hoping for more. Ji-hoon's house wasn't what Martha expected. Instead of some ostentatious mansion, it was a beautiful, traditional Korean home in the hills, all clean lines and natural materials. Stone walls surrounded the property, security cameras discreetly placed, but inside it felt peaceful. This is where you live? Martha asked as they entered through a courtyard garden. Han and I, after our parents died, I wanted somewhere that felt like home, like Korea, but here. He gestured to the garden, carefully maintained, with a small koi pond and flowering trees. Han designed most of the garden. She has a gift for growing things. Han appeared from inside the house, still in her school uniform, face lighting up when she saw Martha. You came. Appa said you might, but I wasn't sure. She stopped, seeing Martha's bruised face in better light. Oh, does it hurt very much? I've had worse, Martha assured her. Your brother insisted I see a doctor. Apparently, I have a mild concussion. Which means she needs rest and monitoring, Ji-hoon added. Hana, can you show Martha to the blue guest room and find something comfortable for her to wear? Her clothes. He gestured to Martha's uniform, still stained with the afternoon's chaos. Martha looked down, really seeing herself for the first time since the fight. Blood on her collar, rips in the fabric, grease stains mixing with dirt. She looked like she'd been through a war. Oh God, I need a shower. The guest room has a private bathroom. Take all the time you need. Ji-hoon's voice was gentle. I'll have Yoon bring your things from your apartment if you want. My things? Clothes, toiletries, anything you need for a few days. At her expression, he added, Dr. Lee said 48 hours rest. You can't go home to an empty apartment with a concussion. So you're staying here. That wasn't part of the deal. The deal was I'd cover your medical care. This is medical care. His expression was implacable. Non-negotiable, Martha. She should have argued, should have insisted on going home. But the truth was, the thought of being alone in her studio apartment, trying to stay awake to check for brain bleeds, terrified her. And this house, with its peaceful garden and Han's eager face and Ji-hoon's protective intensity, felt safe. Fine, but I'm calling my mother to let her know where I am. I'd expect nothing less. Ji-hoon's smile was warm. Now go. Rest. Han will take care of you. The blue guest room was stunning. Traditional Korean aesthetics mixed with modern comfort. Tatami-style flooring, low bed with silk bedding, paper screen doors opening onto a private garden view. The bathroom was equally beautiful, all natural stone and dark wood. Martha stood under the shower spray, watching blood and grime swirl down the drain, and let herself process. 12 hours ago, she'd been serving pancakes at Roy's. Now she was in a Korean mafia boss's house, bruised from fighting gangsters, being monitored for a concussion while his sister picked out pajamas for her. Her life had become a K-drama, and the terrifying part was how right it felt. When Martha emerged from the bathroom in the soft pajamas Han had left, silk, expensive, fitting perfectly despite the size difference, Han was waiting with a tray of food. Oppa said you probably haven't eaten since lunch. I made samgyetang, chicken soup. It's good for healing. The girl set the tray down carefully. And I wanted to thank you, properly, for what you did. Martha sat on the bed accepting the soup. It smelled incredible. You don't have to thank me. I did what anyone would. No, most people wouldn't. Han sat beside her, voice serious beyond her years. Most people see a Korean girl in trouble and keep walking, especially in that neighborhood. But you didn't. You fought for me even though you didn't know me, even though it put you in danger. Your brother would have done the same. My brother is trained for violence. You're a waitress who jumped between me and men with guns. Han's eyes filled with tears. You could have died. For me. A stranger. Martha set down the soup and pulled the girl into a hug. Han clung to her, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Hey, it's okay. We're both safe. That's what matters. I was so scared. They said they were going to take me, hurt Appa through me, and I couldn't stop them. But I did, and your brother did, and now those men are somewhere they can't hurt anyone. Martha pulled back, meeting Han's eyes. You're safe, sweetheart. I promise. Because of you. Han wiped her eyes. I want to repay you, however I can. Please let me do something. Martha thought about refusing, but the earnestness in Han's face stopped her. This girl needed to feel like she could do something, contribute somehow. Tell you what, teach me some Korean. I only know a few words, and if I'm going to be around you and your brother, I should learn. Han's face lit up. Really? You want to learn? Really? Starting with whatever Appa means, because you keep calling your brother that. Han giggled, actually giggled, the fear finally draining from her expression. It means older brother when a girl says it. Come on, I'll teach you. 3 hours later, Martha's head was swimming with Korean phrases, greetings, polite expressions, basic words. Han was a patient teacher, correcting pronunciation gently and laughing when Martha mangled the unfamiliar sounds. Your Korean is better than some of my classmates, Han said encouragingly, and they've been studying for years. Liar, but a sweet liar. Martha yawned, exhaustion finally catching up. The concussion made everything feel slightly fuzzy at the edges. You should sleep. Ji-hoon's voice came from the doorway. Both women turned to see him leaning against the frame, watching them with an expression Martha couldn't quite read. Han, it's past your bedtime. School tomorrow. Han made a face but stood obediently. She bent to hug Martha quickly. Thank you for everything. Sweet dreams, Unni. Unni? Older sister, Han explained, blushing slightly. If that's okay. I know we just met, but you feel like family. Martha's throat tightened. I'd like that. Good night, Han. Han left and Ji-hoon stepped fully into the room. She's right, you know. You do feel like family. Like you've been part of our lives forever instead of just ours. That's the concussion talking, Martha said, but her heart wasn't in the joke. Is it? Ji-hoon moved closer, stopping a respectful distance from the bed. Because I felt it the moment I saw you standing between Han and those men. Like recognition, like finally finding something I'd been missing without knowing it. Martha's breath caught. Ji-hoon, I know this is too fast. I know you have every reason to be cautious. But Martha, I need you to understand something. He knelt beside the bed, bringing them to eye level. What you did today changed everything. You saved the person I love most in this world. And in doing so, you showed me something I thought didn't exist anymore. What? Someone who acts without thinking of personal gain, who sees injustice and steps forward instead of away, who risks everything for a stranger because it's right. His hand moved to cover hers on the bedding. You're extraordinary, Martha Williams, and I want the chance to know you better, to understand what shapes someone so brave and beautiful and selfless. Martha should have pulled her hand away, should have reminded him they were strangers, that this intensity was trauma bonding, that she had a life that didn't include Korean mafia bosses and their complicated worlds. But his touch was warm, his eye sincere, and some part of her that had been lonely for so long wanted to lean into this connection. I'm not extraordinary. I'm a waitress with medical debt and a studio apartment and dreams I gave up on 2 years ago. You're a woman who put herself between armed men and a terrified girl. That's the definition of extraordinary. His thumb brushed over her knuckles. And those dreams you gave up? Tell me about them. So Martha found herself talking about nursing school, about wanting to help people, about her mother's stroke derailing everything, about feeling trapped in a life that was slowly crushing her spirit, day by day, shift by shift. Ji-hoon listened without interrupting, his attention complete and unwavering. And when she finished, he said quietly, "What if I could give you those dreams back?" "What?" "Nursing school. I can cover the tuition. You could go back, finish your degree, become what you wanted to be." Martha jerked her hand away. "I don't want your charity. It's not charity, it's an investment." He didn't move, didn't try to reclaim her hand. "Han needs proper medical staff on hand. I have the resources to hire a private nurse, but I'd rather it be someone I trust, someone who's already proven they'll protect my family. Work for me while you study. I'll cover tuition and pay you a salary. By the time you graduate, you'll have experience and no debt." It was too good to be true, had to be. "Why? Why would you do this for me?" "Because you saved my sister. Because I owe you a debt I can never fully repay. Because—" He stopped, something vulnerable flickering across his face. "Because I want you in my life, Martha, in whatever capacity you'll allow, and I'm selfish enough to use whatever leverage I have to make that happen." "That's manipulative." "Yes, it is." No apology, just honesty. "I'm not a good man, Martha. I run a criminal organization. I make my living through violence and intimidation. But I'm honest about what I am. And what I am is someone who sees value and refuses to let it slip away." Martha looked into his eyes, dark, intense, filled with a longing that made her breath catch. This was dangerous. Everything about this situation screamed danger. But it was also possibility, a chance to reclaim her dreams, to build something better. "I need to think about it. Take all the time you need." Ji-hoon stood, and Martha felt the loss of his proximity like cold wind. "But while you're thinking, remember this. I don't make empty offers. Everything I've promised, I'll deliver. Your mother's medical bills, your tuition, your safety, all of it." He moved toward the door, then paused. "I'll wake you in 3 hours to check for concussion symptoms. Try to rest." "Ji-hoon?" He turned back. "Thank you for taking care of me, for protecting me, for all of this." His smile was soft, genuine. "Thank you for being the kind of person worth protecting. Sleep well, Martha." True to his word, Ji-hoon appeared every 3 hours. The first time at 1 a.m., Martha woke to find him sitting beside the bed, watching her with concerned eyes. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Martha Williams. And before you ask, I know where I am, what day it is, and that you're an overly dramatic Korean man who hired armed guards to stand outside my door." His laugh was quiet but real. "How do you know about the guards?" "I grew up in South LA. I know what security looks like." She sat up slowly, head still fuzzy. "This is excessive. I have a mild concussion, not brain damage." "Humor me. I've lost enough people I care about." The vulnerability in his voice made Martha's heart clench. "I won't be careless with your safety. People you care about. You just met me. Time is relative. Sometimes you know someone for years and never truly see them. Sometimes you know them for hours and understand everything that matters." His eyes held hers. "I see you, Martha, and what I see is worth protecting." Heat flooded Martha's cheeks. You're very intense, you know that? I've been told, usually right before people run away. He stood, offering her water and medication Dr. Lee had prescribed. Will you run, Martha? I don't know yet, she answered honestly. Ask me again when my head stops pounding. The second check was at 4 a.m. This time Martha was already awake, looking out at the garden illuminated by soft landscape lighting. Ji-hoon found her at the window, wrapped in the silk robe Han had provided. Couldn't sleep? Thinking too much. Martha didn't turn. About your offer. About what it would mean to work for you, to be part of your world. And I'm terrified of you, of this situation, of how much I want to say yes, even though every logical part of my brain is screaming no. Ji-hoon moved to stand beside her at the window, close but not touching. Fear is wisdom. You'd be stupid not to be afraid. My world is dangerous, Martha. People die. Relationships become leverage. Privacy disappears. Not exactly selling it. I won't lie to make it prettier, but I'll also tell you this. Everyone in my organization is protected, fed, housed, educated, their families cared for. I don't abandon people who work for me. I don't throw them away when they're no longer useful. You'd be joining a family, not just an organization. A criminal family. Yes, but a family nonetheless. He turned to face her. I can't promise you safety from everything, but I can promise you'll never face danger alone, that your mother will have the best care available, that your dreams won't die because of money. Is that enough? Martha looked at him, really looked, saw the man beneath a mafia boss, the brother who loved his sister enough to inspire absolute loyalty, the person offering her a way out of the trap her life had become. I want to talk to my mother first, and my brother David. I need their input. Of course, I'll arrange a family meeting tomorrow. Here, if that's acceptable. I want them to see where you'd be, who you'd be working with. You're very confident I'm going to say yes. No, I'm very hopeful. His hand moved to her cheek, thumb brushing the edge of her bruise with heartbreaking gentleness. Because saying yes means I get more time to know you, to understand what makes you brave and beautiful and impossibly selfless. And Martha, I find I want that more than I've wanted anything in a very long time. Martha's breath caught. The touch, the intensity in his eyes, the raw honesty. It was overwhelming, terrifying, and somehow absolutely perfect. This is crazy, she whispered. Completely insane, he agreed. Then softer. But sometimes the best things are. The final check was at 7 a.m., just as dawn broke over the city. Martha was already awake, had been for an hour, watching the sky lighten and thinking about everything that had changed in less than 24 hours. Ji-hoon appeared with tea, traditional Korean, fragrant, and complex. How's your head? Better, clearer. Martha accepted the tea, their fingers brushing in the exchange. The spark was still there. I've made a decision. Ji-hoon went very still. And I want to meet with my family first, like I said. But Ji-hoon, I think I want to say yes to all of it. The job, the school, becoming part of your world. She met his eyes. It scares me. You scare me. But staying in my current life, slowly drowning in debt and dead dreams, that scares me more. The smile that broke across Ji-hoon's face was like sunrise, slow, warm, transforming everything. You won't regret this. I promise, Martha. Whatever happens, you won't regret choosing this path. Don't make promises you can't keep. I never do. He set down his own tea, moving closer. May I? There's something I want to try, but only if you're comfortable. What? This. He cupped her face with both hands, giving her every opportunity to pull away. When she didn't, he leaned in slowly, giving her time to stop him. And when his lips met hers, soft and careful and achingly gentle, Martha's world tilted on its axis. The kiss was nothing like she expected. No demand, no possession, just reverence. Like he was memorizing her, learning her, promising with touch what words couldn't convey. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ji-hoon rested his forehead against hers. I've been wanting to do that since I saw you standing between Han and those men. So brave, So beautiful. So absolutely perfect. This is definitely crazy, Martha breathed. Yes, but Martha, he pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. I think you saved more than just my sister yesterday. I think you saved me too. 2 weeks later, Martha stood in the garden of Ji-hoon's house. Her house now, technically, since she'd moved into the blue guest room temporarily while figuring out the transition. Her mother was in the living room, laughing with Han over some Korean drama. David was deep in conversation with Ji-hoon about security protocols, the two men finding easy camaraderie in shared profession. Martha had started nursing school 3 days ago. The Jin family was covering tuition, and she worked part-time as Han's companion and informal medical liaison. It was perfect, impossible, absolutely insane. You're thinking too loud, Ji-hoon said, appearing beside her. He did that, moved with silent grace, always seeming to know when she needed company. Just processing. 2 weeks ago, I was serving coffee and pancakes. Now I'm living in a Mafia boss's house, going to nursing school, and my mother is best friends with your 16-year-old sister. Life moves fast sometimes. His arm slipped around her waist, and Martha leaned into him naturally. They'd been doing this. Small touches, stolen kisses, learning each other's rhythms. Regrets? None. Terrified, yes. Confused, constantly. But no regrets. She turned in his arms to face him. Thank you. For seeing me. For giving me this chance. For not letting me walk away that afternoon. Thank you for being too stubborn to walk away from a fight. For protecting what's mine even when you had no obligation. For being exactly who you are. He kissed her forehead softly. You changed everything, Martha Williams. You saved my sister. And in doing so, you saved me from a life where duty was everything and love was nothing. Is that what this is? Martha asked quietly. Love? Getting there. Fast. His smile was soft. Is that okay? Martha thought about the question, about this impossible man and his impossible world, about dreams reclaimed and futures reimagined, about how sometimes salvation came from the most unexpected places. Yeah, she said, rising on her toes to kiss him. That's more than okay. And in the garden, with her found family inside and her future wrapped in the arms of a dangerous man who looked at her like she was everything, Martha understood something crucial. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is not fighting for someone else. It's letting someone fight for you. She'd defended a 16-year-old girl from Gangsters, unaware she was saving a Korean mafia boss's sister. But really, she'd been saving herself all along.